Property, life, and other lines of insurance products and services. And Kirk Market. Experience a world of choice. And Automotive Art Cayman. Your car, our passion.
And now, Radio Cayman presents The Buzz, an insightful and fresh take on a variety of issues that impact the local environment. This is where we address the topics that matter. Here's your host, Kathy Miller.
Good morning and welcome to The Buzz. I'm your host, Kathy Miller. Today we're focusing on a health matter that affects both adults and children, gastroenteritis. And then after the 9 a.m. headline news, we will have an open line and it's going to be about the 100 Days Report. Now, August is recognized as Gastroenteritis Awareness Month. I'm only going to say gastro from this point on. That word is a mouthful. And with the increase in cases that we see during the season, especially during travel, kids going back to school, it's the perfect time to talk about prevention, treatment, and the overall impact on people in our community. So joining me in the studio this morning, we have Dr. Sarah Tyler, emergency care physician, and Dr. Tamara Bugembe, pediatrician from Doctors Hospital, to help us better understand the condition and how it presents and what families can do to stay healthy. Not just families, but all individuals, what we can better do to stay healthy. So good morning, doctors, and welcome to The Buzz.
Good morning.
Thank you for joining me. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you for having us.
And as I understand, it's your first time on radio, right?
It is. Absolutely.
Sometimes I love that because sometimes people can be nervous, but when they're done the show with me, they feel really good about it. So I'm going to guarantee that you're going to feel great about it.
Let's hope so.
All right, so we're going to get straight into the topic. And as we're discussing gastro, I did tell you right before the show started that I will admit that in my 40s, I didn't even know that gastro was a bit of a condition. I just assumed it was you have a stomach flu, or I used to get a lot of acid reflux. So I was just like, when people would tell me, I'm so confused. I'm like, what do you mean you have gastro? You have a flu or you have reflux? Like, what is it? So I have to be schooled here. So in understanding the basics, what exactly is gastro and how does it differ from the common stomach flu or food poisoning?
So it really is the same. Lots of people talk about stomach flu. When we talk about gastroenteritis, we just mean an infection or an inflammation of your gut, and that usually manifests as diarrhea and vomiting in gastroenteritis. You can have other sort of infections of your gut, so you can, or inflammation of your gut. You can have things like appendicitis and other sort of things. But when we talk about gastroenteritis, we usually mean an infection or some sort of inflammation or infection of your gut that causes diarrhea and vomiting. And usually that's a self-limiting thing, and it gets better by itself for most people.
But gastro doesn't necessarily
get
better by itself.
So gastroenteritis, gastro or gastroenteritis or stomach flu, they're all the same thing.
I thought they were a little different. Okay.
So there are lots of different bugs and viruses and bacteria that can inflame your gut. Mm-hmm. So you can have the flu, influenza A and B, and have some stomach aches and some stomach symptoms, so diarrhea and vomiting. But it's not a flu virus that causes stomach symptoms only. Usually it's something like norovirus or rotavirus, but you can also have some bacteria like salmonella that cause diarrhea and vomiting.
Okay. Ooh, and that salmonella, that can come from raw fish a lot, right? Am I right with that?
Poorly cooked foods like raw eggs, runny eggs and chicken, but also you can pick it up in the environment, and there are a lot of chickens here, so I'm not going to pinpoint them, but I'm sure they contribute.
Oh, that's interesting. I feel like you might have opened Pandora's box a tiny little bit there, Dr. Tamara.
Sorry, we love the chickens.
No, we do love the chickens, but that's it's just something to note, something to be aware of. The causes and transmission. So what are the most common causes of gastro, whether it is viral, bacterial, or otherwise? How is it, I guess, typically spread?
So it's commonly spread by So the commonest thing, especially for kids, is touching something that where someone's got a gastroenteritis infection, or someone's picked something up along the way, and then they have got that virus or whatever it is that they've got on their hands, and then they've touched something, either like a food item or Often it can also just be so much as a cup or a plate or just any item,
object, yeah.
literally any object, and then they've then picked that up and then they've touched their face or their mouth, and then transmitted the virus or the bacteria or whatever it is to themselves. So it's really common. That's why if one person in your family gets gastroenteritis, you often then find that the rest of often other members of the family will get it too, because it's actually very difficult to stop transmitting it, especially if you're caring for family members that have got it and they've got lots and lots of vomiting or lots and lots of diarrhea.
Oh boy. So how does the cycle end if the whole family gets infected?
So really, really judicious hand washing and making sure that everything is washed and clean. But it's very challenging, especially if you're caring for a young child.
It's also really important to know that hand sanitizer isn't that great at getting rid of a lot of the viruses, like norovirus. So you really need to wash your hands with soap and water. Also, if someone has vomited or you've changed a nappy, you need to clean that area with a bleach solution and let that dry. The norovirus can live on surfaces for a couple of hours. So if a child touches that surface and touches their face or puts their finger in their mouth, they will get infected with it. And usually that's how it's spread. It's been on a surface that you've wiped down, but not efficiently. And then you've touched your face or maybe fed someone something, handed them a cracker or something, and then they've ingested the virus.
I'm stuck on the point that you made initially about hand sanitizer isn't the most effective in keeping you clean, I guess. I'm very surprised at that. And the reason, I think especially when the COVID outbreak came, if anything, I can't believe that we had to have basic messaging to the public about washing your hands. That was crazy to me. But I guess we had to have it. So it's just surprising to hear that, because the hand sanitizer became a huge thing. You couldn't walk into places without them spraying you with sanitizer. And I have a particular coworker actually who lives by it and only pretty much believes in the hand sanitizer. So I like you dispelling the myth that she should. In that sense, it's not the most effective.
Hand sanitizer is great because it's effective against an awful lot of bugs. So it's a great product, and it's a really good habit for people to get into the habit of when you've been in the supermarket and you get in the car, those sorts of things that we were all doing during COVID, where we'd go to the supermarket, we'd get in the car, and before we'd touch anything, or certainly I did, before I'd touch anything, I would be sanitizing my hands, and then I'd be washing my hands when I got home. So, using hand sanitizer frequently is really, really good. But it is exactly as Dr. Tamara has just said, it's really important to know that it doesn't kill everything.
Right. So I think it says 99%. So we most of those bottles. Yeah. Right. So that 1% does matter. So it is effective, but don't rely on hand sanitizer only especially to keep your hands clean. Okay. All right. Going from there now. So for the seasonal spikes that can sometimes happen with gastro, do we see that in Cayman? Do you see beginning of the school season, summertime being a little bit more increase in cases with gastro, or for us is it just kind of a year-round thing?
I've only been here a year, so I can't really comment on seasonal patterns, but we do see clusters happening. So we'll see it starts off in a household and then their friends will get it. So we do see little clusters of infections happening. Okay.
In your previous experience then, have you seen seasonal patterns happen?
It used to be more common in the winter months, but that has changed actually recently, yeah.
Well, my friend telling me when her family had contracted gastro, it was all in the winter months, but for Cayman it just means it's a little breezy here.
I think we often see, certainly we in urgent care and on the emergency side, see lots of patients who have been abroad. So when people go on their holidays, and depending on where they go and where they stay, so if you've been somewhere with slightly less judicious food hygiene standards than we have generally here, we definitely see lots of people after they've been on holiday or on their vacation, and they come back with gastroenteritis type symptoms, and we see lots of that.
That's interesting because on holiday, especially on planes, some of us are very particular about wiping down everything with antibacterial wipes for sure. And, you're on holiday, you're a tourist, you're going somewhere, there's tons of people around touching things. It's almost becoming second nature to us to clean our hands. And
there's
all the
also
rest.
lots of buffet food
yeah.
and lots of eating out. And if you think that at home, most people would eat at home most of the time and they would cook their own food. Whereas when you're on your vacation, you're often eating out, you're eating in places you wouldn't eat in normally. So I think it probably comes from that.
That's a great point. Very, very good point. What are some symptoms to watch out for? Key symptoms in parents and children, or adults and children, I should say.
So gastroenteritis usually happens quite suddenly. They'll just start vomiting or have diarrhea and may have some abdominal cramping. Sometimes people can get a fever. It's usually not a very high fever, or the fever doesn't last very long. In pediatrics, we would like to see your child if they do have a fever, just because we would probably want to collect a sample to make sure there isn't any bacterial cause. But we also just want to get a look at the child, make sure they're not getting dehydrated, because if you're losing fluid from vomiting and diarrhea and a fever, you really have quite a challenge on your hands.
In the sample from a bacterial cause, does that make the way you treat the patient different if the bacterial sample showed something of concern?
So we need to identify if it's a bacterial cause for your gastroenteritis if we are worried about contaminated food, and that needs to be fed back to public health. But also the isolation advice may be a bit different, and sometimes we do treat it, but we don't always treat it. But it's important to have that information to decide how best to support the children.
Okay. Can gastro also present as other possible illnesses? I could be mistaken for appendicitis. I don't know if I said that word completely right.
Absolutely. So that's the thing we always worry about with gastroenteritis. So we worry that it might not be a gastroenteritis and it might be something else. So it could be appendicitis or a symptom of some sort of inflammatory bowel disease like Crohn's or ulcerative colitis or something like that. Now, things like Crohn's and ulcerative colitis tend to have a much more chronic path, but it can be a first presentation of those sorts of things. And gastroenteritis that isn't settling, so those sorts of diarrhea and vomiting symptoms that aren't settling, we would be definitely thinking about whether there was something else going on. And if you have as Dr. Tamara said, most patients who have gastroenteritis don't tend to have that higher fever. So if your fever was continuing or particularly high, then we would be thinking about whether there was something else going on.
Now, August is being celebrated or recognized, I want to say, for Gastro kind of Awareness Month. Is it that big of an illness that's easily contracted by people that we need to have such awareness about it?
I think it's important to have awareness about it, particularly, well, I'm a pediatrician, so I'm a bit biased, but I think children can lose fluid very quickly. They can get dehydrated very quickly. And if you know how to support yourself and your children, then you won't end up being admitted for IV fluids, which is quite traumatic for the little babies. You want to keep them at home. So if you know how to keep your area clean, how to contain it, and also how to rehydrate them, then you can manage it at home and not cause too much panic or stress.
But you'd like to see those children, at least, hopefully, if it's presenting in symptoms like a lot of vomiting and diarrhea.
Yeah, so we definitely want to see the children if they're less than 6 months, if they have high fevers above 38 degrees or 100 Fahrenheit, if they're a bit dehydrated, so if they're not passing urine or a bit lethargic. Parents have a very good instinct about their children, so if they're worried about them, we're happy to see them. And also if there's blood in the stool, we definitely want to see them then.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that could be a more serious matter as well, blood in the stool.
Yes. And gastroenteritis should only last a couple of days, about 2 to 3 days. So like Dr. Sarah said, if it's lasting a bit longer, we'd want to see them as well.
Okay. All right. We're going to go to our first commercial break. But when we come back, we're going to continue our discussion on gastro.
Tired of burning cash at the gas pump and wasting time in traffic? Say goodbye to gridlock and hello to freedom with a Kimco scooter from Automotive Art. Trusted in over 100 countries, Kimco is now known worldwide for reliable, fuel-efficient scooters built to last. Perfect for Cayman's roads. With 2 models to choose from, the Agility 125cc for just $23.99 and the Agility RS Naked 125cc for $24.99. It's the smart, budget-friendly way to beat traffic and cut costs. Visit Automotive Art today and ride smarter with Kimco, because saving money should never mean slowing down.
I'm Michael Webster.
And I'm Denise Brown of Cayman Insurance Center.
Family is not the most important thing, it's everything.
We have worked with the community and their families on protecting themselves for the future,
Whether it's providing top-rated life insurance,
or protecting your family's household investment.
from our family to yours, we understand and we care.
I'm Denise Brown. Call me at 814-7229.
And I'm Michael Webster at 925-5433.
We are Cayman Insurance Center.
Specializing in property, life, and other lines of insurance products and services at an affordable rate. We are Michael and
Denise
at
Cayman Insurance Center.
Call today.
Looking for fresh, healthy food that's full of flavor? Then you've got to visit Kirk Market. Our dishes are made with fresh, high-quality ingredients. Enjoy vibrant mixed greens or satisfying pasta salads. Or try one of our delicious grill options like blackened chicken, spicy beef steak, or grilled salmon. Looking for something light and flavorful? We've got sushi rolls and poke bowls prepared daily. And don't forget to explore a hot bar or Billy Fresh salad at the salad bar. Stop by Kirk Market today for breakfast, lunch, or dinner and taste the difference. Eat well, live well with Kirk Market.
Hey man, it's time to move. Lace up those sneakers and join the Alzheimer's and Dementia Association of the Cayman Islands on Sunday, September 7th at Commander Bay for the World Walks Against Dementia 2025 5K Run Walk. Be part of something big, a global movement spanning 61 countries, and the walk and run together to raise awareness and support for people living with dementia, their families, and caregivers. One day, one cause, one powerful step at a time. Register now at Race Caribbean or download the form at adakman.ky. Adults are $25 and children 17 and under or $10. Let's walk with those who can't. Let's walk for change. Let's walk against dementia. ADACI. Together, we're making a difference.
The Buzz with your host, Kathy Miller.
Good morning. Welcome back to The Buzz. We are talking all about August being Gastro Awareness Month. And in studio with me, I have Dr. Sarah Tyler, emergency care physician, and Dr. Tamara Bugembe, pediatrician, both from Doctors Hospital. They're giving us a little bit of background information on gastro, how you get it, how do the symptoms present, and what to watch out for, causes and transmission. And now we're going to go into, well, first I got a comment from a listener. And while I do have some other questions, trust me, from this comment, there's other things that we're going to share about a possible. Just listen to the comment. Let me just start that. Listen to the comment. Good morning. Just tuned in and heard your hosts, our guests, I think they meant, speak about salmonella and intestinal causes. She mentioned about the wild chickens as contributing to this, and I want to add that the dogs, unleashed, wild, and leashed ones, being walked by their owners, and horses being ridden on the public roads whose owners do not pick up after these animals, even though it is the law. Asking your host thoughts on this, please, and thanks. I guess, to me, I'm assuming if salmonella is spread through, fecal matter.
I actually don't know if salmonella is spread through fecal matter. I suspect it probably is, but there are lots of other things that definitely can be spread through fecal matter. So absolutely, right. Not picking up after your dog, not picking up after your animals, definitely will spread gastroenteritis and other bugs as well, which will make you unwell.
Right.
So that is definitely a contributing factor. And then we were also just chatting just in the break about the chickens and salmonella.
Yes.
Because we know that salmonella can be spread by eggs. So, I mean, as Dr. Tamara and I were just saying, that you've got chickens all over, wild chickens all over all sorts of surfaces. So I have no doubt that it contributes something in terms of the spread of this stuff.
That's so interesting. So, I think what you told me in the break was in the UK that you vaccinate the chickens, right? And I don't know if I've just been not paying attention to a lot of things going on, but I didn't know that was a thing.
Yeah, so I very vividly remember as a child when we started vaccinating chickens, because there was a big, I think there was a big salmonella outbreak. And then we started I'm sure that was the point at which we started vaccinating all the chickens. But so our chickens in the UK and in a lot of Europe don't have salmonella at all because they're all vaccinated. So our eggs we don't have to keep in the fridge. So when they're just picked up off the floor of wherever they're laid, and then they're popped in the boxes, and they come covered in feathers and covered in whatever feathery stuff.
Yeah, that's just so interesting.
Whereas so there's two different ways of managing your eggs. So one is that you vaccinate your chickens so they don't have salmonella in the first place, and then you basically just pick up the eggs. You don't wash them, and then you just keep them on the work surface out in your sort of normal kitchen. The other option, which is what happens in the States and in some of the rest of the world, is that you don't vaccinate your chickens, but then when you pick the eggs up, you then have to wash the eggs. And that takes away this protective coating that's on the outside of the egg. So you then have to keep the eggs in the fridge, and then I think you keep them for a certain amount of time. They have an expiry date based on the fact that once they've been washed, they can't be kept for longer. I don't know how long that is. Okay,
I just keep mine in the fridge and then wash them when I'm going to use them. Well, then I crack them open. So you know what I'm saying? That's a little different. But food handling is definitely a big part of how people can contract gastro, right? And there was another interesting point brought up during the break that I was like, oh, when we mentioned this this could be a little controversial, but I find it interesting. And when we're talking about washing off certain foods before consuming them or preparing them, one of them is chicken. And I know when I moved here, and I wasn't sure if it was a cultural thing, but it was very loud in my head that apparently I need to wash my chicken with vinegar. And I don't know if it was a Caribbean thing, but it was brand new to me. I've never heard of that in Canada. And my family are like Eastern European, so I didn't, my mom cleaned the chicken, but I don't remember it being with vinegar. So I was like, this is interesting, but I guess for those of us who are so adamant that we must clean our chicken, what risks could this present to us if we're in the kitchen and cleaning meat before we prep it?
Well, so essentially cooking the chicken or cooking the meat will kill whatever bacteria is on the outside of it. So if you're cooking it to the appropriate temperature, you shouldn't need to wash it. But lots of people do wash their chicken, and the danger with that is that when you run it under the tap or you pop it in a bowl to wash it, you get little droplets of whatever bacteria or bugs are on that chicken, which can essentially be spread across your kitchen and aerosolized across your work surfaces. So the challenge, if you do wash it, is how to get everything around it clean. And that's what people really struggle with, and that's why we see gastroenteritis or infection associated with washing your chicken. It's not the fact that you've actually washed the chicken, it's the fact that you just can't, it's almost impossible to make sure that you've picked up and cleaned all the aerosolized bits of bacteria that could potentially be all over your kitchen because you've washed it.
Right.
That's the challenge.
The droplets, the kind of
absolutely
offspring of that,
yeah,
per se. Not the exact right term, but you know what I mean.
Yeah. And if you have a child who's coming in and out of the kitchen, touching things, then you're increasing the chance of them being exposed to something that could cause gastroenteritis.
Oh, so that's so interesting. So I guess we'll see if that changes anybody's habits in cleaning their chicken at least, and hopefully avoiding any cases of gastro. All right. So for children and adults, how does gastro affect children differently compared to adults, if at all? And are they at greater risk of complications? if I guess not treated sooner than later?
I don't know. I haven't treated an adult for over 20 years, so I'm not going to comment on adults. I'll leave Dr. Sarah to do that. But children are quite resilient, so they will feel quite under the weather. They'll need lots of TLC, but they tend to bounce back pretty quickly. Children can have a bit of a residual diarrhea, so their poo can take a while to be formed and it might be a bit mushy, a little bit like yogurt to toothpaste consistency. Sorry if anyone's having breakfast. So you might notice that that's something not to worry about, that just takes a while for their gut to recover. You might also notice that when children eat sweet foods or dairy, that it just tends to slide through and create a mushier poo. It just takes a little bit longer for the little probes that absorb the water from the gut to recover from the illness. So they just have softer poo if they eat sugary drinks or dairy products.
Is there a suggested diet that children should follow if they're recovering from gastro?
So during the gastro episode, at the time they're having the vomiting and the diarrhea, we really want to emphasize the rehydration. So getting fluid into them at all costs. So that might mean that you've got to relax your rules and give them a popsicle. It's better if that fluid has a little bit of glucose and salt. So Pedialyte does really good popsicles that has all the electrolytes that you need. Plain water can be a bit dangerous for children because it can dilute the few salts that are left in their body, and that can cause further complications. So Pedialyte's really good. We like them to have what we call the brat diet, which isn't the most exciting diet, but it's gentle on the gut. So that is bananas, apples, toast, and plain rice. You can have some other things outside of the brat diet, like plain boiled potatoes. Don't put butter on them. The butter will probably irritate their stomach, or like a broth as well.
Okay, good to know. And Dr. Sarah, what about in adults? Does gastro present differently or affect adults differently compared to children?
Not necessarily. I mean, you'll see the same symptoms. You'll see diarrhea, vomiting, tummy pain, but if it, and actually most adults that have it will have diarrhea, will have vomiting for maybe a day or so, and then it settles down. But then, exactly as Dr. Tamara said, they're left with just their stool or their poo just being a bit mushy and a bit kind of loose for a little while, and that can last sort of 5 to 7 days. That can really go on.
Okay.
But actually, if you feel all right and if you're managing to get enough fluid in, and again, exactly as Dr. Tamara said, Pedialyte in children, but Diorolite, which is the adult version, is kind of the best stuff to have, and to just try and rehydrate yourself with that.
I didn't know that there was a Pedialyte version for adults. I have the Pedialyte version for myself.
Is Diorolite just a Europe thing?
I haven't
It might
seen
not be. I
Diorolite.
just wasn't aware.
I haven't seen it in the shops here, but I haven't looked actively.
The other thing is something like liquid IV. So the liquid IV sachets that have got they've got a lot of sodium in them, so a lot of salt in them.
Yeah.
And they've got a little bit of and they've got some sugar in them as well. So they're a really good alternative.
I found just buying electrolyte packs.
Yeah, that works as well.
And I would say sugar-free to anybody interested in that. Electrolyte packs, which help me tremendously if I need to rehydrate.
So it's really interesting that you just said sugar-free, because lots of this stuff is so lots of things now are marketed as being sugar-free, and we all perceive sugar-free as being a really good thing, and it is on a day-to-day basis, because you don't want to add sugar to anything that you're having or anything that your kids are having on a day-to-day basis. But if you've got diarrhea and vomiting, you need that sugar. So you don't need to worry too much. You want that glucose, you want that sugar in there. So if your kids are going to drink juice when they've got a bit of gastroenteritis, they can have juice with sugar in it. It's not going to do them any harm.
Okay.
So those sort of relaxing those rules is quite good at that time.
Okay. Not me giving out advice that the doctor's like, actually, let me give you the doctor advice here. Which, I would take her advice over mine for sure. We're going to go to our next commercial break, and then we're going to be wrapping our discussion on gastro.
Looking for fresh, healthy food that's full of flavor? Then you've got to visit Kirk Market. Our dishes are made with fresh, high-quality ingredients. Enjoy vibrant mixed greens or satisfying pasta salads. Or try one of our delicious grill options like blackened chicken, spicy beef steak, or grilled salmon. Looking for something light and flavorful? We've got sushi rolls and poke bowls prepared daily. And don't forget to explore a hot bar or Billy Fresh salad at the salad bar. Stop by Kirk Market today for breakfast, lunch, or dinner and taste the difference. Eat well, live well with Kirk Market.
Tired of burning cash at the gas pump and wasting time in traffic? Say goodbye to gridlock and hello to freedom with a Kimco scooter from Automotive Art. Trusted in over 100 countries, Kimco is now known worldwide for reliable, fuel-efficient scooters built to last. Perfect for Cayman's roads. With 2 models to choose from, the Agility 125cc for just $23.99 and the Agility RS Naked 125cc for $24.99. It's the smart, budget-friendly way to beat traffic and cut costs. Visit Automotive Art today and ride smarter with Kimco, because saving money should never mean slowing down. Get ready! Gamers Bay 9 is back and bigger than ever. On September 27th and 28th, dive into 2 epic days of esports battles, VR, cosplay, and meet your favorite streamers and content creators. All at the John Gray Gymnasium. Don't miss the ultimate gaming experience for fans of all ages. Tickets available now at gamersbayevent.com. Level up your weekend. Only at Gamers Bay 9.
The Buzz with your host, Kathy Miller.
Welcome back to The Buzz. We are talking all about gastro because August is a Gastro Awareness Month. And I have with me in studio, I have Dr. Tamara Bugembe. She is a pediatrician from Integra Healthcare. Not Doctors Hospital, my bad. I marry you guys together a lot, Doctors Hospital and Integra. And then from Doctors Hospital, we have Dr. Sarah Tyler, who is an emergency care physician, and we are discussing gastro. So we talked about how the background of gastro, what it is, the symptoms, some of the how it presents in children and adults, and to talk about treatment options. What are the recommended treatment options for mild cases at home versus more severe cases requiring medical care?
So generally, do you want to talk about managing children at home? Probably better for you to talk about kids at home, and then I'll talk about adults.
So for children at home, I think the challenge is they feel so unwell, they don't want to drink. So often you have to give them tiny little bits of fluid slowly. Sometimes they're so thirsty from the vomiting and diarrhea that they just want to guzzle down a drink. And that isn't helpful, because when they retch, they'll have this huge volume of fluid in their stomach and they'll have a big vomit. And that can sometimes make them reluctant to drink again because they don't want to experience that again. So we say just to trickle in 10 mils if you have to get a little syringe to make it fun, or a little cup, the little medicine cups. And you're just sipping 10 mils every 10 minutes and just trickle that in. And I do that for the first 4 to 6 hours. And then if they've kept that in, then you can increase the volume slowly. And then a few hours later, you can give them a dry piece of toast and slowly rehydrate them over 48 hours. You want to keep an eye on how much wee they're making, because that will tell you how well you're rehydrating them. If they have a period of 4 to 6 hours without any urine, then you definitely need to step up the rehydration. If they are weeing, even if it's concentrated, that's a good sign. Just continue with what you're doing.
Okay.
And I think it's important to say that we see, certainly at Doctors Hospital, we see lots of children with gastroenteritis who come really early on, having only had diarrhea and vomiting for perhaps an hour or so. And we do exactly as Dr. Tamara said, we set them up with a sort of oral fluid challenge where we give them we give mum and dad a tiny little cup or a syringe, and they have their 10 mils every 5 or 10 minutes. And the vast majority of children will do really well with that. And we get them home with that, and we don't need to do anything else with them at all. Most of them will go home.
Oh, that's excellent.
So that is definitely something that you can do at home to try and avoid having to come into hospital and, have all that sort of stress associated with that. With adults, it's really similar, to be honest. You feel like you want to drink lots because you feel really thirsty and really dehydrated, so you want to drink lots and lots, but just little and often. So make up your liquid IV or whatever it is that you're using, and just sip it over a couple of hours, and just just get in little and often, and just see how you feel. But as long as you are going to feel reasonably rotten whilst it settles down. But just give it a go, little and often, and see how you get on.
Do you find a lot of cases coming through emergency with people who have gastro? Like, is it really, it can be very severe in that sense that people are going to emergency?
Well, it can be very severe, or it can be, you can feel pretty rotten with it. But also, if you don't know what to do and if you don't know what to expect, it can be quite scary. So people will come in a lot of the time because they don't know what to do, or because they're frightened by it, and that's okay. Right. But it is something that you definitely can try and manage at home. And obviously, if that fails, we're delighted. We're very happy to see you.
Right.
If you're worried, of course, come in.
Yes, of course. Right. Better to have that peace of mind, and instead of playing Dr. Google at home, or Dr. Facebook at home. We've seen a lot of that during the pandemic. Yes. I don't trust that. I'd rather go see the real doctor. Are there any vaccines or medicines that are available that can prevent gastro? Especially, I think, Dr. Tamara, you had mentioned, was it norovirus? Is there anything available to prevent us catching that?
I'm not aware of anything for norovirus. I think we haven't quite outsmarted it. But rotavirus, which used to be really nasty a few years ago, we now have a very effective vaccine for. And it's given in childhood, so it isn't that helpful for the rest of us. But often if you manage to contain the infection in children, you don't see it spread through the rest of the population. So there's the rotavirus vaccine that's given in the first few months, and that's really good.
Okay, wonderful. Prevention, I know we talked a little bit about prevention, but if there's anything that you want to elaborate on, so when it comes to hygiene, the safe food handling, any other prevention methods to hopefully deter anybody from catching gastro?
I think going back to daycare or school is an important thing. Children can still be contagious even after their vomiting has settled and their diarrhea is improving. So the general advice is to stay at home for a further 2 days, further 48 hours after the symptoms have started to settle. Okay, that's good advice. Any tip from you there?
Yeah, so I mean exactly the same in adults as well. So if you often find that you start to feel better and then you want to go back to work. Because obviously you need to go back to work, but it's really it's really important to try and stay away for a couple of days after things settle down, just so that you don't give it to anybody else.
Does it seem like some people are a lot more susceptible to catching gastro compared to others?
I think some people, yeah. I mean, we definitely see. Anecdotally, definitely some people will feel that they get it more often than others. I don't know that there's very much evidence for that. And some people find that taking things like probiotics are very helpful, and can definitely help. And there's definitely some evidence for probiotics.
Okay, excellent. Dehydration is a big thing, as we've mentioned, when it comes to gastro. I feel like I already have dehydration. I don't have gastro. So you trust me, it's something I'm trying to work on. But when it comes to dehydration, I know you gave some tips, Dr. Tamara, but what is, I guess, the best way, especially when you can't stomach any water at all, is the best way to rehydrate somebody that every 10-minute method that you were suggesting, that 10 milliliter amount of fluids for them to consume?
I would definitely suggest trying the slow drip method first. And if that is unsuccessful and you're still vomiting after an hour or two of that, at least 2 hours, give it some time, then yes, definitely go to a hospital. There are medications they can give you to help with nausea and vomiting. The thing with medications, they don't work on everybody. And there is no perfect medication. Sometimes people have side effects. So if your body can heal naturally, that's usually the best approach. But they are things that are available. Or sometimes we need to rehydrate people with an IV infusion while their gut rests.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. Thank you. Any myths and misconceptions about gastro that you might want to clear up? Like, for example, can you catch gastro from a public pool or a community pool within your complex?
Well, I guess you definitely could, if somebody had, you definitely could. I mean, if you had like, it's again the whole thing of touching something when you've got the bacteria or the virus or whatever it is on you, and then somebody else comes along and touches it as well.
Yeah, so if they have some fecal matter, if they hadn't had a shower or their hands are a bit dirty, they could definitely introduce it into the pool. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. That just, when you said, the way my face just turned like, oh.
Mine did too.
It's going to make me look at pools slightly differently. That's all right. You know, I have to have some prevention in my mind when it comes to this kind of stuff as well. Okay, so any memorable moments or, in treating patients that you're allowed to share with, clearly without, giving away too much data there, but any kind of memorable moments where you've had to treat gastro that just kind of stood out to you like, wow, I can't believe the patient had to go through this.
Well, I think we've all seen gastroenteritis that has turned out to not be gastroenteritis.
Yeah.
So where we've thought the patient had gastroenteritis and they just haven't got better. And then it's actually turned out to be appendicitis or something else. And so that's why we'd say, obviously, your child, you know yourself. If you're trying all of these things and you're not getting better, don't sit at home. So, if your pain's getting worse, if you are vomiting more, if it's just not settling down, come back and see us. Because we may see you early on and send you away and say, in all probability, this is gastroenteritis. Do all the things you're doing and carry on, because there's nothing we do differently at this point. Mm-hmm. And that's not unreasonable. But then if it isn't getting better, come back and see us. Okay. Because we need to have another look.
All right. Is there any final advice you'd like to give to our listeners to help protect themselves and their families from gastro?
I'd also like to say that people should not try Imodium or any of the medications that stop you pooing.
Like Pepto-Bismol or anything?
Not Pepto-Bismol. Mainly the medications for traveler's diarrhea that will constipate you and bung you up, because that can cause complications. You really want that virus out of your system. You want to let it pass out. You do not want to cause a blockage at the other end and stop it passing out.
Okay. All right. That's good advice. All right. Dr. Sarah, was there any from you?
I mean, the only thing is exactly what we've already said, that prevention and hygiene is the most important thing. So remembering that hand sanitizers don't kill everything, and actually washing your hands with soap and water is the most important thing. And then just make it, especially as Dr. Tamara said about things like if you're changing your baby's nappy, and then just making sure that you've been really, really careful with wiping everything down afterwards and then washing your hands and things like that. It sounds so silly, it sounds so simple, but it makes so much difference.
It absolutely does, yeah. And again, we needed that education a few years ago when we had the COVID outbreak. Apparently, we're going to continually need that kind of education. So thank you so much for joining me on The Buzz this morning to help me understand gastro a lot more, and some of our listeners as well. And I definitely learned a few things. So especially when it comes to the adult version of Pedialyte. What was the name again?
So Diorolite, but I'm not sure you have it. So Liquid IV is the other.
Is the other one to check out. All right. Thank you, doctors, both for joining us. That's Dr. Sarah Tyler, emergency care physician at Doctors Hospital, and Dr. Tamara Bugembe. She is a pediatrician with Integra Healthcare. Thank you for joining me this morning on The Buzz.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
No problem. We're going to go to the 9 a.m. headline news, and then I'm going to have some open line. I'm going to be talking about the 100 Days Report. So I'm going to encourage everybody to give me your calls, share your thoughts with me after the 9 a.m. headline news.
This Friday, the Ministry of Education and Training is hosting its educators at a highly anticipated annual Education Professionals Welcome event. You're invited to tune in live right here on Radio Cayman to join in welcoming Cayman's teaching community back and setting the throne for an inspiring new year ahead. Again, it's taking place at 9:30 tomorrow morning. In international news, the International Criminal Court has said it deplores new U.S. sanctions on its judges and prosecutors. On Wednesday, the U.S. State Department announced new sanctions on 2 judges and 2 prosecutors in the ICC for engaging in efforts to prosecute U.S. and Israeli citizens. Secretary of State Marco Rubio accused the ICC of being a, quote, national security threat and, quote, instrument of lawfare against the U.S. and Israel. Israel's prime minister welcomed the U.S.'s move. The ICC has issued arrest warrants for Netanyahu and his former defense minister for alleged war crimes and crimes against humanity over Israel's war in Gaza. And U.S. celebrity, judge, and social media star Frank Caprio has died at the age of 88. Over a 40-year career in Rhode Island, he famously used compassion and humor to make judgments and took into consideration the personal circumstances of the people in the dock. Video of the judge presiding over cases on his hit TV show Caught in Providence have had billions of views on social media, earning him the title of, quote, the nicest judge in the world. His death followed a diagnosis of pancreatic cancer, which was announced on his official Instagram account. Those are your headlines. I'm Karsley Fuller.
More news available at www.radiocayman.gov.ky. Check out our social media pages: Facebook, YouTube, X, formerly Twitter. Radio Cayman Headline News.
Do you have a healthcare question but not sure who to ask? Contact HSA's Patient Call Center to speak to one of our experienced clinical team members. We are here to answer your questions and help guide you through your healthcare journey. Need to make an appointment? Our team can help. Contact HSA at 949-8600 or email info@hsa.ky. At HSA, we are committed to caring for you.
Looking for fresh, healthy food that's full of flavor? Then you've got to visit Kirk Market. Our dishes are made with fresh, high-quality ingredients. Enjoy vibrant mixed greens or satisfying pasta salads. Or try one of our delicious grill options like blackened chicken, spicy beef steak, or grilled salmon. Looking for something light and flavorful? We've got sushi rolls and poke bowls prepared daily. And don't forget to explore a hot bar or Billy Fresh salad at the salad bar. Stop by Kirk Market today for breakfast, lunch, or dinner and taste the difference. Eat well, live well with Kirk Market.
We give you honor and praise, adoration and glory.
Radio Cayman.
Praise time.
Praise him, praise him. Come and let's praise the Lord. Come and let's praise the Lord. Praise him in the morning and in the evening. Oh, let's praise the Lord.
Praise time in the morning.
Praise him, praise him.
Weekdays 6 to 6:30 a.m.
Radio Cayman, waking you up.
Rock my soul in the blues of my faith. Rock my soul in the blues of my faith.
Praise time.
I know he cares. He'll always be there. Oh, yeah. Praise him, praise him, praise him.
Praise time.
Set your clock for 6 a.m. or you will miss it. The Buzz with your host, Kathy Miller.
Welcome back to The Buzz. I'm your host, Kathy Miller, and in this segment we have Open Line. However, right before I start that part of the show, I want to read another message that we got from one of our listeners that I didn't see it in time. So I saw it during the 9 a.m. headline news, and I mentioned it to the two doctors that I had in studio with me just a few minutes ago. And the comment that came from this listener, it's so interesting. So the listener said, Toxoplasma gondii can be spread by most house cats' poop. And it sounds creepy, but this could control your mind to feel attracted to danger or less fearful. And I personally believe a lot of behavior could be influenced through those parasites. It's like a mind control parasite. Also, don't clean the litter box if you're a pregnant person. And I was like, okay, I don't know what this is. But, you know, when I mentioned this comment to our doctors, the doctors did say Toxoplasma gondii is a parasite, and it's a very, very, very rare one. And however, both doctors kind of agreed in the sense that, you know, maybe if you are pregnant, you really shouldn't be cleaning the cat's litter box. So very surprising to hear that. Anyways, whole other rabbit hole we can go down with that, but I did want to at least share our listeners' comments. And yeah, very interesting. All right, so we're going to go straight into the 100 Days report now. So this is the report that reviews the National Coalition for Caymanians' first 100 days in office since forming government in early May. I am taking your calls, your thoughts. If you had a chance to review the report, it's just 38 pages long. Let us know what you think. Does the 100 days report set the tone for what we can expect this government to deliver over the next 4 years? Or are we doing a little bit of pretty packaging in the first 100 days? Is this a PR thing? Is it too early to say? Most importantly, are you feeling any of these changes yet for yourself? Call me on 1-800-534-8255. That's Compliments of Flow. 949-6990, 949-8037, or you can WhatsApp at 925-3261. Now, the NCFC marked its first 100 days, May 7th to August 14th, with an agenda focused on fairness, stability, and people-first policies. Some of them we already know about. They've shook the tables a lot. There's been a lot of talk about it. Now, the NCFC has framed their first 100 days as a strong start, having focused on key priorities for the country. I want to remind everybody that you can get this report at www.gov.ky/strong start. I believe we do have a call, so let us take that call. I don't know if it's about what I'm going to talk about now. Well, we're taking the call nevertheless. So good morning, and thank you for calling the Buzz.
Good morning, Miss Kathy.
How are you doing today? Good to hear from you.
Oh, not bad. I'd say the government is doing a fantastic job so far.
All right. Did you check out the report?
Yeah, I've been keeping close to what they've been doing. They're doing a great job, man.
Okay. Now, do you think that it's going to set the tone for the next 4 years, or, we came out the gates kind of hot and it might slow down? What's your predicament?
I think it will be good. I think it will be good straight through. The full 4 years, I think it will be fantastic. I think they'll do a great job continually. That's my belief. It's a very knowledgeable, very brilliant group of people, and so forth. So I think so. I think so. They've been dropping some good singles and so on.
All right.
Right, Kathy?
I hear you. I hear you. We might get the extended player version. We might get a remix coming up. Who knows? Do you have any favorite, policies that they've implemented?
I think,
or that they're hoping to implement.
No, I won't say one is better than the other, but I think they're doing fantastic because you have different types of ministers on the different portfolios, ministries, and so on. But I wouldn't say I have a favorite. At least I wouldn't say it straight out, But I think they're doing good, and I think it will only get better.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, they're working with the people. So, whilst working with the people, you will expect things to get better,
Right.
Yeah, I believe in what they're doing. I think it will get better.
I hear you.
Yeah. So we look forward to some nice remixes, right, Kathy?
Yeah, well, we're looking forward to more, that's for sure. I always like a remix. Well, sometimes the original is always the best, but it's always nice to hear a remix, get somebody else's spin on it.
You better believe that.
Yes. Also, that was not a pun intended when I said get somebody else's spin on it, but sometimes my mind comes up with the brilliant things to say, and sometimes I don't even say the right word when I'm speaking, so you never know what you're going to get from me in the morning. I like to keep us on the edge. All right.
You're right. Okay.
Thank you so much for sharing your opinion. I really appreciate you calling in and letting us know what you think.
Okay. Take care.
Okay. You too. Bye-bye. All right. Thank you to that caller. As I was saying, the NCFC did mark its first 100 days, May 7th to August 14th, with an agenda focused on fairness, stability, and people-first policies. Now, we're going to look at what some of those key priorities that they've been focusing on. So, amongst those key priorities, first, there's the cost of living. Caymanians have been struggling with high prices. So the government, I believe, has extended stamp duty waivers and they have the duty import waivers. They have stamp duty waivers and import duty waivers. So I believe the import duty waivers might be for the first time right now happening. But the stamp duty waivers have been happening. This has been introduced in previous governments. Anyways, they've done that. They've rolled out first affordable housing units and approved $14.4 million in financial assistance to help families with food, utilities, school supplies, and even funeral expenses. Now, one of the biggest policies and news-making change in dealing with the cost of living was the announcement of a new minimum wage, CI $8.75 an hour, starting in January 2026. So when it comes to the cost of living, those were some of the areas that the government focused on, their key priority areas. Secondly, healthcare and well-being is another priority for the NCFC government. For the first time since 2017, the government is talking about creating a national health strategy. They've expanded youth mental health services. They set up the Poinciana Mental Health Advisory Council and increased funding for indigent healthcare. They're also updating drug laws, including controls around substances like fentanyl. Third, there's education and employment. They've run summer schools, launched a campaign to attract Caymanians into teaching, and are trying to ensure that Caymanian graduates with education degrees get placed in schools. On the employment side, perhaps one of the biggest policy reforms that we're looking at has to do with term limits for non-Caymanian civil servants, and they've also set up a workforce strategy committee to better connect Caymanians with jobs. This is all in the report, so I'm giving you a little bit of summary here about what their key priorities in this report are that they've covered so far. The fourth would be economic and fiscal management, and this one is extremely important for us. This is all about government finances. So the government projects a deficit of about $26 million for 2025. That is not news. It is not news. That figure was reported in the preview report published in early April. That was the pre-election and finance report. That's not exactly what preview stands for. Sorry, I didn't write out the whole acronym this time. But that was published in early April. We already knew about the 26 million deficit. It was actually supposed to be a little bit more than that, looking to be more than that come end of 2026. So hopefully that doesn't happen. Now, the NCFC says that deficit does come from higher costs. Things like increased civil service salaries, healthcare, and social support. They are promising cost controls, but at the same time, they're making significant investments. So the big question is, can we keep delivering these social programs while staying financially stable? Can we reverse that 26 million? I know when I had the premiere on the show, on The Buzz, I believe it was Thursday, June 5th, I did ask the question, can that deficit be reversed before the end of the year? Can we see this happening, and does it take perhaps the halting of certain capital projects in order to see that deficit reversed? They did say they were reviewing these capital projects and that it is possible to reverse this deficit. Okay? That's coming from my June interview with the Premier that was on The Buzz, which you can also find on YouTube, on our Radio Cayman YouTube channel. Finally, another big key priority is the international reputation in tourism, and they've restarted legislation and compliance work in the financial services sector, which is key to Cayman's economy. They've also secured new airlift flights from Toronto, Ottawa, and Fort Lauderdale, and began developing a cruise tourism strategy. On the cultural side, government has launched a new community programs like the Emancipation Center and youth financial literacy training. So that's some of the key priorities the government has focused on. We're going to go to a commercial break right now. When we come back, I can get a little bit more into the details of some of those priorities.
The Buzz with your host, Kathy Miller.
I'm Michael Webster.
And I'm Denise Brown of Cayman Insurance Center.
Family is not the most important thing, it's everything.
We have worked with the community and their families on protecting themselves for the future.
Whether it's providing top-rated life insurance
or protecting your family's household investment.
From our family to yours, we understand and we care.
I'm Denise Brown. Call me at 814-7229.
And I'm Michael Webster at 925-5433.
We are Cayman Insurance Center.
Specializing in property, life, and other lines of insurance products and services at an affordable rate. We are Michael and
Denise at Cayman Insurance Center.
Call today.
Looking for fresh, healthy food that's full of flavor? Then you've got to visit Kirk Market. Our dishes are made with fresh, high-quality ingredients. Enjoy vibrant mixed greens or satisfying pasta salads. Or try one of our delicious grill options like blackened chicken, spicy beef steak, or grilled salmon. Looking for something light and flavorful? We've got sushi rolls and poke bowls prepared daily. And don't forget to explore a hot bar or Billy Fresh salad at the salad bar. Stop by Kirk Market today for breakfast, lunch, or dinner and taste the difference. Eat well, live well with Kirk Market. Caymanian job seekers, are you still searching for the right opportunity? To ensure that your application is received and considered during your job search, we encourage you to apply for that role on the Work Jobs portal, even if you applied for the job advertised on the company's website. Increase your chance of putting your best foot forward. Double up to stay on top. Don't wait. Hit that apply button today. Visit worc.ky to search for available jobs.
The Buzz with your host, Kathy Miller.
Good morning. Welcome back to The Buzz. I'm Kathy Miller, and we are talking about the 100 Days report that government released just a week ago. It's about their first 100 days in office as the NCFC government. And if you'd like to call and give me your thoughts, let me know what you think about the report or how government has done in the first 100 days of formation. Call me on 1-800-534-8255. That's Compliments of Flow, 949-6990, 949-8037. Or you can WhatsApp, call, or text me at 925-3261. Now, I'm going to go back to talking about these key priorities that I mentioned, but I'm going to get into a little bit more detail. So let's start with the cost of living relief. One initiative I had mentioned is the stamp and import duty waivers for property purchases. That's meant to help homeownership more attainable for all Caymanians. Now, as a side note for me, I did say a little earlier it's not entirely new. I think the import duty waiver could be new right now, as it does relate to property purchases, new builds, and renovations. However, we have seen policies that allowed Caymanians to dip into their pension for first-time home buyers and concessions being introduced over the years. For example, at the end of September 2023, the government at that time introduced new concessions for Caymanian land and property buyers. For first and second-time buyers, stamp duty was waived for purchases up to $550K and reduced stamp duties for higher price points. If you're buying a second home, the stamp duty was waived there as well, up to a certain amount. There is also the National Pensions Amendment Act 2023, which saw pension withdrawal limits increasing from $35K to $50K for new purchases or builds, and an increased withdrawal amount to pay off existing mortgages from $35K to $100K. Those initiatives were also part of a strategy to make home ownership easier for Caymanians and to ease the cost of living. So again, there has been some concessions already in place for homeownership to be more attainable, but I think it is the import duty waiver that might be new right now. And I say I think because I was up until 1:30 in the morning preparing And I was like, oh, let me look for this press release to give me more details. And guys, I had to go to bed. So sorry. But I would like to find out that information for sure to see if the import duty waiver is the new part here. Now, to get back to the 100 Days report. One of the measures approved to help ease cost of living was financial assistance in the amount of $14.4 million, approved in the June Finance Committee meeting. The report states financial assistance is provided for a variety of expenses, including food, accommodation, utilities, burial assistance, medical expenses, all of which are not covered by health insurance, clothing, transportation, internet, phone, and support for children, such as preschool assistance, camps, after-school care, school uniforms, shoes, and other supplies. The Finance Committee also approved extra funding for medical care in the amount of $8.25 million and tertiary care for indigents and seafarers in the amount of $20.5 million, but that extra money only carries us to September. After that, government will have to go back and ask for more just to get through the rest of the year. Minimum wage. From January 2026, Cayman's minimum wage will raise to $8.75 an hour. This is the first increase in years, but some people say it's still too low to keep pace with the cost of living. Others worry it will burden small businesses. So I know we've discussed it, and I'd still love to hear from you. Is $8.75 enough, or do we need to be a little bit bolder when it comes to wages? Then there's healthcare and mental health. One of the most striking points in the report is that Cayman hasn't had a national healthcare strategy since 2017, and that's 8 years without a guiding plan. The government says they'll fix that, and side note from me, they did have that national health survey that took place, was it a year or almost, I think a year ago almost, the results of that survey came out. So I think it's something that they were looking towards, but they wanted to survey first and gather data and information, get a snapshot, and not just a snapshot, but a very detailed snapshot of healthcare in the Cayman Islands. And I believe from that report, which was published and released, they're able to start forming a strategy because, let me ask, how are we going to form a strategy for anything when we don't have no data, current data, to back up what we're trying to do? What are we measuring? What are we trying to do here? So I understand the process that they're going in, and I do believe that the National Health Strategy was something that was also being worked towards in the previous government. That is my side note. Regardless, they're going to be working on getting it done with the NCFC government. The government also says, in the meantime, they've set up a youth mental health initiative. They've launched the psychiatric training program and expanded oversight at Poinciana Center. So we're happy with that because there was a lot of feet dragging going on there. I don't know what was going on, guys. It was crazy. But nevertheless, it's getting done. Then there's a little bit more info on education and Caymanian jobs. So education did get some wins in the first 100 days with an improved rating at Sir John A. Cumber Primary and more placements for Caymanian teachers and over 700 new school registrations secured. On the jobs front, there's a huge shift, which is the term limits for non-Caymanian civil servants and a new National Workforce Committee. This raises an important issue for us to think about. Will these changes really open more opportunities for Caymanians? Is it just kind of all fluff right now? Or could they risk creating gaps in service if we don't have enough people trained to fill these roles? Will we also attract a bit less caliber talent out there to the Cayman Islands in certain roles? Now, the economy and deficit, which, is one of my favorite things to talk about, the government finances. And so we, as mentioned, in 2024, Cayman did have a surplus. For 2025, we're looking at the $26 million deficit. And as mentioned, it is not new, as that was forecast in the preview report published in early April of this year. So government says that that deficit is due to the increased civil servant salaries, which were absolutely necessary, to healthcare bills and more support payments, such as targeted recruitment for public safety, outputs from statutory authorities and government companies, which is plus 13.2 million for enhanced educational services, stronger financial sector regulation. So that is also where some of the deficit is coming from. They have suggested cost controls like pausing non-essential hiring, cutting back on travel and supplies, and delaying capital projects. I don't know why delaying capital projects is the last thing listed there. That should be the very first thing. That is where a huge chunk of your money will be saved. So, moving on. Should the government slow down spending on social programs or certain capital projects until the books balance? Or should they keep pushing ahead, even if it means running a deficit for now? And as mentioned, government will have to go back to the Finance Committee in September to ask for that financial assistance again for Caymanians. So it's almost on a quarterly basis are we trying to keep things running. And I understand that this NCFC government has just formed, so they're trying to get their feet wet a little bit in what they're trying to do. But right now it is a bit of a quarter-to-quarter outlook for Cayman. Tourism is bouncing back a little bit with flights and a cruise strategy under development, but the government is also stressing Caymanian involvement, and so am I. I know I've said it before. It was the weirdest thing to me when I first moved to Cayman and went on excursions or, anything that was a tourist activity and it wasn't Caymanians that I was meeting. And it just didn't give me a taste of Cayman. It was a very strange thing to me. In comparison, when I went to Jamaica, I didn't see one foreigner doing anything in tourism. So I'm just saying it was, and that's how I feel like I got to know Jamaica a little bit more in a sense, because I'm really talking to my tour guides, right? So it's an interesting thing. I would really like to see a lot more Caymanians involved in tourism. So on a global stage regarding tourism, international relations, the government has strengthened ties with the UK, pushed compliance measures to meet international finance standards, which we're always doing, and boosted Cayman's credibility abroad, which we always need to do, right? They like to come for us for Hollywood reasons. So after the first 100 days, this is where we stand. Caymanians are seeing some cost of living relief. Healthcare and education reforms are starting to take shape. Jobs and immigration are being reshaped with Caymanians in mind, first and foremost. But all this comes with a price tag, and right now that price is a projected 26 million deficit. And the government calls this a strong start, but as always, the real test will be whether these policies create lasting change and if the momentum that they've gathered now will be able to remain the same in the next few 100 days. So, in closing, how do you feel about the government's first 100 days? Do you think they're focusing on the right issues? And most importantly, are you seeing or feeling any of these changes in your own life yet? A reminder that you can read this report at gov.ky/strong start. And a reminder to all BRAC residents that the NCFC will be at Scott's Dock in the BRAC tomorrow evening, I believe it's at 5:30, to discuss and celebrate their achievements with the first 100 days in office. Thank you for joining me on The Buzz this morning. Thank you both to my doctors that were joining me in the very first segment as we discussed gastro, and just for hanging out with me in the open line segment for those who sent in their comments and gave me a call. I appreciate you. Everybody have a wonderful Thursday, happy Friday Eve, and a great weekend ahead of you. The Buzz is proudly sponsored by Cayman Insurance Center, specializing in property, life, and other lines of insurance products and services. And Kirk Market, experience a world of choice. And Automotive Art Cayman, your car, our passion.